4,500 years old. That's what every textbook, museum and documentary tells us about the Great Pyramid of Giza. There's just one problem. The evidence doesn't add up. The Great Pyramid contains 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing tons, cut with such precision you can't fit a credit card between them. Its base is perfectly level across 13 acres to within 2.1 centimeters. That's more precise than most modern buildings constructed with lasers and computers. We're supposed to believe this was accomplished with copper chisels and wooden mallets. Even the master stonemasons said they couldn't replicate this precision even with modern tools. Whatever built the Great Pyramid had technology far beyond Copper Age capabilities. And then there's this, vertical erosion patterns on the Sphinx and its enclosure that every geologist recognizes as water erosion from heavy rainfall. The problem is, Egypt hasn't had that kind of rainfall since the end of the last ice age, over 12,000 years ago. When this evidence was first presented, it was nearly laughed out of academia, but no one could explain away the geology. Those weathering patterns cannot be created by wind and sand. Then astronomers discovered something that shattered the conventional timeline completely. The three pyramids of Giza exactly mirror Orion's belt stars, but only as they appeared in 10,500 BCE. What if everything you've been told about when and how the pyramids were built is wrong? What if human civilization is far older and more advanced than we've been led to believe? In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you evidence that will force you to question everything you thought you knew about human history. Evidence so compelling that once you see it, there's no going back to the textbook version again. Let's start with what the history books tell us. According to mainstream archaeology, the Great Pyramid was built during the 4th dynasty of Egypt's Old Kingdom, around 2560 BCE. The builder, Pharaoh Khufu, who commissioned this monumental tomb that would stand 481 feet tall, consisting of 2.3 million limestone blocks, each weighing several tons. Egyptologists tell us an army of skilled workers, not slaves, built this masterpiece over approximately 20 years using copper tools, fiber ropes, and ingenious techniques. The dating to Khufu's reign isn't arbitrary. We have worker graffiti mentioning his crews, a logical progression of pyramid development and consistent material dating. This isn't guesswork, it's multiple converging lines of evidence. The evidence seems solid. Hieroglyphic inscriptions reference Khufu, carbon dating of mortar places construction firmly in the 3rd millennium BCE, and we can trace a clear evolution of pyramid design throughout the Old Kingdom. But here's where things get interesting. This entire timeline rests largely on the work of one man, British archaeologist Sir William Matthew Flinders Petrie. In the late 19th century, Petrie established dating methods that remain fundamental to Egyptology. His sequence dating technique, using pottery styles and king lists, created the chronology taught worldwide today. But what if Petrie's foundational assumptions were wrong? What if the historical records he relied on, written thousands of years after the pyramids were built, contained critical errors? And an even more unsettling question, what explains the numerous anomalies that simply don't fit this neat timeline? The first major challenge to conventional dating came not from the pyramids, but from their guardian, the Great Sphinx. In 1991, Boston University geologist Dr. Robert Schoch made an observation that would shake Egyptology to its core. The erosion patterns on the Sphinx aren't caused by wind and sand, they're caused by water. Not just any water, heavy, prolonged rainfall that created these distinctive vertical weathering patterns. Here's the problem. When was the last time Egypt experienced that kind of rainfall? Between 10,000 and 5,000 BCE, at least 2,500 years before the Sphinx was supposedly built. Those vertical patterns tell a clear story to any geologist. That's not wind or sand. That's rainfall runoff, and lots of it. This takes us back at least 5,000 years before the supposed construction date. But the anomalies don't stop there. The precision of the Great Pyramid defies explanation using ancient tools. Visual. The base is leveled to within just 2.1 centimeters across its entire 13-acre footprint, a feat challenging even with modern laser technology. Its sides are oriented to the cardinal directions with an accuracy of 0.05 degrees. Christopher Dunn, an engineer with decades of experience in precision manufacturing, documented evidence suggesting advanced machining beyond what history allows. Look at these spiral grooves inside drilled granite, markings consistent with machine drilling at speeds requiring industrial diamond tools. How did Copper Age workers achieve this? Then there's perhaps the most mind-blowing evidence of all, astronomical alignments that point to a much earlier date. The three main Giza pyramids perfectly mirror the three stars of Orion's belt, but only as they appeared around 10,500 BCE due to a phenomenon called precession. This alignment would be off by thousands of years if built during Khufu's time. Which leads us to the question that changes everything. Could we be looking at the legacy of a civilization that thrived before the end of the last ice age, a civilization completely erased from our history books? Mainstream archaeologists haven't ignored these challenges. They've mounted strong defenses of the conventional timeline. First, they point to the clear progression of pyramid building in Egypt, from early step pyramids to the perfect geometry of the Great Pyramid, showing the Egyptians' learning curve over generations. Multiple experiments have shown how ancient techniques using water, copper tools, and human labor could achieve remarkable precision. No advanced machinery required, just generations of accumulated knowledge and craftsmanship. Then there's the discovery of Khufu's name in the relieving chambers above the king's chamber, chambers unsealed for the first time in 1837. This direct attribution would be extraordinarily difficult to fake. The claim that these structures date back to 10,000 BCE simply doesn't align with human development. We have no evidence of societies then with the social organization, agricultural surplus, or technology to build such projects. The archaeological record shows humans of 10,000 BCE still living primarily as hunter-gatherers. The technological leap required would be unprecedented. And that Sphinx water erosion? Orthodox geologists suggest it could be explained by occasional heavy rains over 4,500 years, combined with morning dew that regularly forms in the desert. Most damning of all, if an advanced civilization existed in 10,500 BCE capable of building the pyramids, where is everything else? Where are their tools, homes, art and writing? How could they vanish so completely from the archaeological record? But if the conventional explanation is correct, how do we explain the engineering impossibilities that continue to baffle modern experts? At the heart of this timeline war lies a fundamental question: what constitutes valid evidence? In the 1980s, mortar samples from the Great Pyramid were carbon-dated, yielding dates consistent with Khufu's reign. Only organic material within the mortar was dated, material that could have been contaminated or replaced during renovations. The stones themselves cannot be carbon-dated. Even more curious, no contemporary Egyptian texts explicitly state that Khufu built the Great Pyramid. The attribution comes primarily from Herodotus, writing 2,000 years after the fact. Unlike virtually every confirmed Egyptian tomb, the Great Pyramid contains no elaborate inscriptions, no decorations, no obvious religious symbolism. If it was Khufu's tomb, why does it break so dramatically from Egyptian tradition? And perhaps most tellingly, no mummy or treasures were ever found inside. The sarcophagus sits empty, undecorated, and curiously, slightly too large to have been brought in through existing passages. It had to be placed there during construction. The engineering evidence presents similar contradictions. Workers would need to cut, transport, and place one massive block every few minutes to complete the structure within Khufu's 20-year reign. Conventional archaeologists argue this was possible with a seasonal workforce during the Nile's annual flood. Alternative researchers counter that even with 100,000 workers, precision remains nearly impossible with copper tools. These precisely drilled holes show spiral grooves with a feed rate impossible with hand tools. Orthodox explanations for these marks remain sparse. So which side is cherry-picking evidence and which is following where the data leads? Or is it possible that both sides are missing something crucial? What if the answer isn't as simple as either side being completely right or wrong? What if there's a third possibility? Some researchers propose that the Great Pyramid may have been built in stages across different eras, an original older structure later modified during Khufu's reign, explaining both the advanced features and Fourth Dynasty evidence. Others suggest knowledge transfer, that the pyramids were indeed built around 2500 BCE, but with techniques inherited from an earlier, perhaps now lost civilization. This could explain why similar megalithic construction appears almost simultaneously across disconnected regions, from Egypt to Peru, Easter Island to Cambodia. Then there's the possibility that we're simply underestimating our ancestors. Perhaps they achieved these engineering marvels exactly when conventional archaeology suggests, but with innovations we haven't yet rediscovered. This timeline war forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about history, evidence, and how we know what we think we know. It challenges us to examine our biases, both toward defending established narratives and toward embracing revolutionary alternatives. What if the greatest value isn't finding a definitive answer, but in questioning our assumptions about human capabilities throughout history? The Great Pyramid has witnessed thousands of years of human history, perhaps much more than we realize. It has seen empires rise and fall, religions come and go, and countless generations puzzle over its origins. What it hasn't yet seen is consensus. The timeline war continues, with new evidence emerging regularly. In 2017, the Scan Pyramids project discovered a massive void above the Grand Gallery using cosmic ray technology, a chamber unknown for thousands of years. As we continue to probe these silent monuments with advanced technology, what other secrets might resolve this debate? Recent excavations near the Sphinx have unearthed structures that could rewrite history once again. Are the pyramids the achievement of ancient Egyptians from 4,500 years ago? The legacy of a lost pre-Ice Age civilization? Or something in between, a collaboration across time that we're only beginning to understand? The evidence is in front of you. The questions remain open, and perhaps the most important question of all is this: why are we so resistant to reconsidering what we think we know about our own past? If you found this fascinating, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments which piece of evidence you found most compelling. Next week, we'll explore the mysterious structures recently discovered beneath the Giza Plateau that could change everything.